and at its heart stood Montluc Prison. A name whispered in dread. It was a place where hope went to die. A grim way station of torture and execution for those who dared to resist. But even within these walls, saturated with despair, the embers of defiance still glowed. This is the story of an escape not just from a prison, but from the very clutches of tyranny. By 1944, Montluc was overflowing. Its cells were packed with men of the French resistance, captured, broken, and awaiting a final, fatal verdict. They were shadows in a world of stone and iron, each day a struggle for survival against the brutal methods of the Gestapo. Yet, among them, a plan began to form. A whisper of freedom in the suffocating silence. The architect of this audacious dream was a former military engineer, a man whose spirit refused to be caged. His name has echoed through the hidden corridors of history, a symbol of resilience. "We knew death was coming," one survivor's diary reads. The only question was when, and on whose terms. For these men, dying in a fight for freedom was an honorable end. Dying in a Gestapo cell was not. The engineer began to study the prison's routines, its guards, its very architecture. Every crack in the wall, every moment of inattention, was a potential opportunity. He wasn't just planning an escape. He was waging a war from inside the enemy's stronghold. The psychological toll was immense. Paranoia was a constant companion. Every glance from a guard, every unexpected noise, could mean discovery and immediate execution. The plan was a masterwork of clandestine engineering. Tools had to be smuggled in piece by piece, hidden in food parcels or passed through bribed hands. A simple file, a length of wire. These were treasures more valuable than gold. Messages were passed using intricate codes, sometimes written on scraps of paper with ink made from soot and water, other times tapped out on the cold stone walls in a rhythmic language only the initiated could understand. They were building a network of trust in a place designed to shatter it. Coordination with the resistance outside the walls was critical. Coded messages, slipped out with laundry or through sympathetic workers, detailed the escape plan. The resistance units in line prepared safe houses, forged papers, and arranged for transport. The entire operation was a fragile web, and a single broken thread could bring it all crashing down. The men inside knew that failure meant certain death, not just for them, but for their comrades on the outside. Then came the betrayal. A double agent, a man they had trusted, revealed key parts of the plan to the Gestapo. The news tightened. Raids on resistance safe houses intensified. Inside Montluc, interrogations became more brutal. The prisoners felt the walls closing in, both literally and figuratively. They were in a race against time, their carefully laid plans now threatened by treachery. The engineer had to make a choice: abort the mission and accept their fate, or accelerate the timeline and risk a desperate, all-or-nothing gamble. For men who had already lost everything, the choice was clear. They would not surrender their last shred of hope. On a moonless night, the operation began. With nerves of steel and tools worn down by weeks of patient work, they cut through iron bars and picked locks that were meant to be unbreakable. They moved like ghosts through the corridors, their footsteps muffled, their breaths held tight. Every shadow could hide a guard, every creak of a floorboard could be their death knell. They neutralized guards with swift, silent precision, using skills honed in the shadows of occupied France. The tension was suffocating. One group worked on the outer gate while another created a diversion. The plan was audacious, bordering on impossible. As they breached the final barrier and tasted the night air, it wasn't a moment of loud celebration, but one of grim, focused determination. They had freed themselves, but the war was far from over. Over 70 men poured out of Montluc Prison that night, melting into the labyrinthine streets of Lyon. The breakout was a thunderclap that echoed across occupied France. It was a stunning blow to the Gestapo's reputation of invincibility and a massive morale boost for the struggling resistance. But the story doesn't end there. For these men, freedom wasn't a final destination. It was a return to duty. Most of them didn't flee to safety. They didn't seek refuge. Instead, they reported to the nearest resistance command post, were given new orders, and immediately returned to the fight. Their escape from Montluc became a powerful symbol. It proved that even in the most hopeless of circumstances, the human will to be free is a force that cannot be extinguished. It showed that the spirit of the resistance was not just in the mountains or the countryside, but lived and breathed even within the enemy's most feared dungeons. These men, who had faced death and chosen defiance, became legends in the underground, their story a testament to the fact that true prisons are not made of stone but of fear. And fear was a prison they had long since escaped. The heroes of Montluc fought on, contributing to the eventual liberation of France. Their legacy is not just in the daring escape itself, but in the unyielding courage that defined their every action. They were ordinary men who, when faced with extraordinary evil, found within themselves an unbreakable strength. They remind us that history is often written not by great armies, but by the quiet, determined bravery of a few. If this hidden story moved you, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More forgotten heroes are waiting to be remembered.